Well, joining us now is Conservative MP for Penistone and Stocksbridge, Miriam Cates. Good morning, Miriam. Kemi Badenoch, morning, good to see you, has been writing about this in one of the papers this morning, and she says that people will say this is just electioneering and they could have done it sooner. Is that the case?
Well, of course, it's always the case that things could have happened faster, but actually this has been as part of the plan for a while. A year ago, this was debated in Parliament, just less than a year ago. As a big debate in Westminster Hall. A number of MPs, including myself, spoke about the need to do this. And that was off the back of a campaign run by the charity Sex Matters, and also recommendations from the Equalities and Human Rights Commission recommending that Kemi Badenoch did exactly this. So, of course, this is now a policy announcement mid-campaign. It will be in the manifesto. But had the election not been called when it was, I do understand that this would probably be in part of next term's legislation, if you like. But yes, of course, all these things should have been done sooner. I absolutely agree. But I'm really pleased that the government is proposing this now. On
a practical level, Miriam, what will this mean for women, but also for trans people?
Yes, if you allow me just to go back in time a little bit, the problem has arisen because in 2004, the Labour government passed something called the Gender Recognition Act, which enabled people to change their birth certificates. So somebody who, as an adult, had or wanted to go through transition could actually apply to have their birth certificate changed. So let's say they were born male, they could have it amended to say female. Now, I personally don't agree with that act. I don't think you should be able to change a historical document. But there we have it. That is in our law. Then, in 2010, the Equality Act was passed, also by outgoing Labour government, that introduced protections against discrimination on the grounds of race and disability and all sorts of things that everybody would very much agree with, but also on the basis of gender reassignment, if you like. So you can't discriminate against somebody. You can't not give someone a job, for example, on the basis of them being trans, which, again, the vast majority of people would agree with. But the difficulty has arisen because the Equality Act uses sex and gender almost interchangeably, which at the time nobody raised an eyebrow, but of course since then those two things have come to mean something very different, and we've got into a real mess because lots of public services don't know whether they're allowed to forbid biological males from entering toilets, changing rooms, playing sports, hospital wards, because they don't want to be sued for discriminating against somebody who may be a man but presents as a woman. So this is why we've got into this confusion and why we desperately need this clarification.
Do you think it matters to anybody, though, this issue, in terms of how they're going to vote, Miriam? When you're knocking on doors at the moment and going around campaigning, does anybody open the door and say, what I really want is clarification on what a woman is?
Well, actually, they do open their doors and they do speak about protections for women and girls specifically. Obviously, as an MP, I particularly have stood up on these issues. So I think, you know, part of it is that my constituents, some of them recognise that. But certainly a lot of women and fathers of daughters are very concerned about what it means for women to go into toilets and changing rooms and play sports and not be able to know, not be able to have guaranteed to them that they won't find men in their changing rooms. Now, there have been some horrific incidences. Kemi Badenoch herself wrote about one of these today, of girls and women who have been attacked, sexually abused by men who have come into their toilets, their safe spaces. So these incidences certainly happen, but it isn't just the incidences themselves, it is the fear of them. And the point of having single-sex spaces is to protect women and girls. And nobody is saying that all men or all trans people are a risk. Of course not. But the point about safeguards is that unless they apply to everyone, you can't keep people safe. If you want to work in a school, you have to have a DBS check. That doesn't mean people think that you're suspicious. It's just we apply it to everyone. No men should be able to go into women's changing rooms. That's how we keep people safe. It has to apply to everyone. And that's the purpose of this announcement today.
All right, that's Miriam Cates.